Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call this meeting to order. Diana, can you do a roll call, please?
Your worship, I can confirm that Councillor Scott Lewis and I, Deputy Clerk Diana Wilson, are in attendance in the township office. For those participating by video conference, please answer present when your name is called. Mayor Manel.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar.
Present.
Councillor Woodner.
Present.
Councillor Moore.
Present.
Councillor Cerna.
Present.
Councillor Galinsky.
Present.
Chief Administrative Officer Clerk Michelle Casavecchia Summers.
Present.
Director of Fire and Emergency Services Brent Smith.
Present.
Director of Public Works Matt Sweetland.
Present.
Director of Development Services Adam Betteridge.
Present.
Director of Finance Arun Mohili.
Present.
Manager of IT Cecil Coxon.
Present.
That's everyone.
Thank you. Next order of business is disclosure of beginner interest and general nature thereof.
Yeah, I have one. Item D1, the Charlton drain.
Okay, so noted, Mark.
Thank you.
The minutes from February 18th, was there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, mover and seconder for the minutes then, please.
I'll move it.
Cerna and Lewis, all in favor?
Councillor Woodner.
Yeah.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Cerna.
Yes.
Councillor Lewis.
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar.
Yes.
Mayor Manel.
Yes,
Carried.
thank you. Next, we have a quarter revision for the Charlton drain, so I need a mover and seconder. The council of the Township of Malahide does hereby appoint the following members to sit on the quarter revision for the J.A. Charlton Drain 2020. Mayor Dave Mennel, Chair, Deputy Mayor Dominique Jaguar, and Councillor Max Moore. Mover and seconder for that one, please.
I'll move it.
Moved by Galinsky, second by Lewis, all in favor?
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Cerna.
Yes.
Councillor Lewis.
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky. Deputy Mayor Jaguar.
Yes.
Mayor Manel.
Yes,
Carried.
thank you. And this is for the members on the committee. So mover and seconder of the council or the quarter revision for the J.A. Charlton Drain 2020 be called to order at 7:32. And that Dave Mennel be appointed chair.
Move it.
Moved by Moore, second by Jaguar, all in favor?
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar.
Yes.
Mayor Manel.
Yes,
Carried.
thank you. Where are we? Mike DeVos Mike is here. Okay. Could you give the nature of the proposed drainage work, Mike? You're muted, Mike.
Sorry about that.
That's better.
Yeah, the J. Charlton drain is a replacement to an existing municipal drain. We're looking at replacing the bottom end, which is an existing tile drain. It does cross the road about halfway up and then go through the upstream property. We will be abandoning the piece of the main drain at the top end and then extending a branch across the road for a newly severed lot. But as this is the quarter revision, we typically just deal with the distribution of the assessments or the cost to the particular properties at this time. And currently, I am not aware of any appeals. If they have come in, I'm not aware of them.
Okay, we'll go to Diana. Diana, was there any comments or objections received?
Your worship, we have not received anything.
Okay. Any questions for the committee to Mr. DeVos? Seeing none. Mover and seconder, the quarter revision members for the J. Charlton Drain 2020 be here to accept the recommendations of the drain engineer Mike DeVos, Speech Associates, and does hereby further confirm the drainage assessment outlined in the report of the drainage engineer dated November 25th, 2020. Mover and seconder.
Second.
Moved by Moore, second by Jaguar, all in favor?
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
yes,
Mayor Manel,
Yes,
carried.
thank you. And for those members on the committee, the moves and second, the quarter revision related to J. Charlton Drain be adjourned and council reconvene at 7:34. Jagger and Moore, all in favor?
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes,
carried.
thank you. Now we're back into open session with the rest of the council. Mover and second of the tender for the J. Charlton Drain 2020 be awarded to the Cassidy Construction in the amount of $64,310.50, subject to the expiration of any appeal period, subject to no appeals have been received related to the J. Charlton Drain 2020. Mover and seconder,
I'll move it.
moved by Lewis, seconder,
I'll second it.
Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes,
Mayor Manel,
Yes,
carried.
thank you. Thank you, Mike, appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good night.
Take care.
Your worship, while our next presentation isn't scheduled until 8 p.m., Nancy Posado is now with us. And so I don't know whether you want to move her presentation up earlier if she's prepared.
No, if Nancy's there, we'll carry on with Nancy. So Nancy, there you are.
Good evening.
Good evening. We'll let you have the floor.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor Mennel. I have a presentation. Should I be sharing the screen? Sorry.
Sorry, Nancy, all of the members of council have it already in front of them. So it's up to you. I can allow you to share the screen if you wish, or we can carry on knowing that all the members have it.
Okay, I'll proceed with the presentation then, and if anyone wants me to share the screen, I can. At this time, I won't though. So good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Mennel and Council, and thank you for allowing me to speak this evening on the official plan review for the County of Elgin. My name is Nancy Posado, and I'm the Manager of Planning for the County of Elgin. I'm going to provide some background and a brief overview of the official plan review process for the County of Elgin. Afterwards, please feel free to ask any questions or seek any clarification that you might need. So first, some background. Elgin County is comprised of 7 local partner municipalities, and I won't name them all off, but obviously the Township of Malahide is one of them. As of the most recent, census, 2016, the population of Elgin County was 50,069 people. We are predominantly comprised of agricultural lands, but also include rural and urban settlements, 85 kilometers of Lake Erie shoreline, and significant natural heritage features. So what is the official plan? In very basic terms, it's a document to guide development and growth. It's considered to be a roadmap for how a municipality wants to develop over the next 20 to 30 years. It's also a legal document that is required under the provisions of the Planning Act. All municipalities, regions, and counties have an official plan, and we are required to have an official plan. Elgin County's first official plan was only recently approved in 2013. Before that, the county did not have an official plan. So the official plan have a lot of policies related to growth and development, and those policies impact everyone. The official plan contains policies on the protection of agriculture. It outlines criteria and policies related to new housing, employment, and retail in settlement areas. It protects natural heritage features and functions, and it plans for county roads and other infrastructure that are necessary. So as per the Planning Act and the provincial policy statement, an official plan is required to be updated every 5 years. This ensures it reflects the changing needs of the communities, as well as ensuring that it meets all new and relevant planning legislation. So the most recent changes to the provincial policy statement will necessitate some changes to our own official plan. Other more recent legislative changes over the last 8 years include other topics, which may warrant a review and possible changes or additions to the official plan. The county is undertaking a review of the population and employment projections and land needs assessment for the county and each of the local municipalities, which may result in settlement boundary expansions depending on the data that we receive. There may be a review of the policies related to settlement expansions, including defining the term minor and looking at land swap considerations for local municipalities. For development, full services are still the main consideration, with minor infilling and rounding out when partial services are available. There is also the potential for local municipalities to consider communal servicing as an option. Indigenous consultation, source water protection, and climate change impacts will all be important considerations for the review. Recent legislation has made it mandatory for municipalities to permit secondary dwelling units, which will need to be reflected in policy. The Elgin Natural Heritage Study was completed in 2019, and the county plans on hosting a public meeting on the study, which may result in policy changes or the adoption of a guideline document. A clarification on the condominium types and requirements for each may also be necessary. And a review of severance policies to ensure consistency across all municipalities will likely be needed. But is there anything else? What are the strengths of the current official plan? What are the weaknesses? What are the gaps in our policy? What are the opportunities to improve? What is the vision for the official plan review? So we are starting the review process, and we want people to connect with us and provide their comments on this very important first step. We have a dedicated webpage, which will be the main landing site for all things official plan review, and we will regularly update it with any reports, presentations, and any other information that comes out. And we'll also post our notices and let everyone know where we're at in the process. We also have an email address. People can call, or they can write in their comments through regular mail. We also have a survey that's available on our webpage, and we ask everyone to complete that survey. The deadline for receiving this first round of comments on the current official plan is April 15th. The most important thing, though, is getting that word out and connecting people with us. In terms of next steps, once the comment period is over, there will be a report to County Council on the issues and the scoping of the official plan review process. From there, this will inform the scope of our study and identify any other meetings, public meetings, and/or open houses that might be needed. I thank you very much for your time tonight, and I look forward to working with Malahide Council on this very important project. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Anyone have any questions or comments for Nancy?
Mr.
Seeing
Mayor?
none. Oh, go ahead, Dominique.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Nancy, thank you for your presentation. I think you alluded to the fact that this time around is a very important, it's going to be a very important process, because there are a number of legislations that have changed since, and they're in the end, it's going to affect everybody. So I want to really highlight that in case, this, because to some this may seem as just an administrative process and just go through it, check all the boxes and kind of be done with it. But I think it's very significant, very strategic. It's going to have a lot of impact on our ratepayers and landowners. So I wanted to highlight that. And I wanted to clarify with you the April 15th date. That's not the ultimate date for all sources of input. I understand we're going to be at the county developing a further detailed engagement strategy. Can you expand on that?
Sure, absolutely. Through you, Your Worship. The April 15th deadline is basically just a deadline for that survey, because at some point it has to have a sunset clause, as well as receiving that first round of comments in order to also start to develop that issue scoping report as well. But throughout this process, there's going to be many opportunities, as you'll see through the engagement strategy, to engage the public, to consult with the public, to continue to hear and have the conversations with people on are we missing anything? Are we getting it right? What are we hearing? Those sorts of things. So there's going to be this constant feedback as well, so we can ensure that this process is constantly being fed into by the public as well. So.
Thank you
Any
for
other
clarifying that.
questions or comments for Nancy?
I have one if I could.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Nancy. Nancy, with respect to the secondary dwelling changes coming up, do you have any idea what? I know we have some rules now. It's allowed to some extent. Will there be more changes coming?
Through your worship, I haven't heard anything as of lately. I know people, I've been seeing it in other official plans across the county. For instance, Dutton Dunwich has just recently adopted their official plan review, and they've included policies on that. I do know other counties and local municipalities as well that have grappled with the criteria or the implementation of it is left essentially up to the local municipalities and the county as well. I think it's good to have an overall framework for something like that to allow it, but I think it ends up will likely be more of a local kind of implementation. You know, there'll be considerations of should agricultural dwelling homes be allowed to have a secondary dwelling unit? You know, are there certain areas that should have restrictions, those sorts of things? So at this time, I haven't heard anything, but I think it's all going to be in how it's implemented at the local level. So yeah, through this process, I guess we'll be hearing probably a lot of feedback on it as well. Airbnb, as you know, is a very big consideration for a lot of people, and certainly that kind of affects the application of secondary dwelling units too. So there'll be lots of discussion on that item, I think.
Okay, and I guess the province will probably have something to say about it too, because I understand they're going to be allowing a lot more of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, a mover and seconder, a presentation of Nancy Posado, County of Elgin Manager of Planning regarding the official plan review process for the County of Elgin be received.
Move it.
Moved by Moore, seconder
I'll second it.
by Galinsky, all in favor.
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes,
carried.
good. Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good
Thank you,
evening.
Nancy.
Okay, Matt, are you doing the next one?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, so good evening, Your Worship and Council. I have one report for you this evening, which relates to parking complaints that have been received on Hacienda Road. There are a number of houses at the south intersection of Hacienda Road and Highway 3 near a local restaurant who provide numerous reports of large vehicles, including transport trucks and RVs parking along the roadside, blocking off driveways, making residents unable to enter and exit their driveways. So we did receive a number of reports of these, a number of photos of these incidents, which have been provided to Public Works staff, but I didn't include these in the report just in an effort to ensure the privacy of individuals. So staff have reviewed the area in question and determined that in order to ensure the sight lines are maintained and residents are not impeded from the ability to enter and exit their own driveways, staff are recommending that no parking signage be posted on Hacienda Road within 200 meters south of Highway 3 intersection. The estimated expense for this work would be about $1,250. And I would like to note that initiating such a no parking area would not impact the delivery trucks to the commercial establishment in this area. Those trucks are exempt from the no parking bylaw, considering the short duration of their activities. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Matt. Questions for Matt on this one?
Comment, Dave?
Go ahead, Scott.
Through you, Your Worship, Matt, I appreciate what you did the other day when I called and we spoke and you clarified a few issues that were brought forth with your report, and having the pictures available was a very nice thing also. So just want to say, yeah, thank you for what you did.
Okay,
problem.
thanks, Scott. Any other questions for Matt? Seeing none, mover and second, report number PW 2115 entitled No Parking Area, Hacienda Road be received. The municipal staff be authorized and directed to take the necessary action to implement no parking zones along both sides of Hacienda Road from the intersection of Talbot Line to 200 meters south of such intersections.
I'll move that.
Moved by Lewis, seconder
I'm there.
Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes,
carried.
thank you. Adam, you're doing the severance application for Vulgar Farms?
Yes, I am, Your Worship. So, good evening, members of council. I have before you an application for consent to sever a dwelling surplus to a farm consolidation. It's gone through staff review and there's no significant comments. I did note towards the end of my report that as the severance has been proposed, there's a rear lot line proposed to be established just beyond an existing agricultural accessory building proposed to remain with the proposed surplus dwelling lot. I've asked that or recommend that that lot line be adjusted a little bit further south to meet our requirements of the zoning bylaw and to allow general maneuverability and storage behind that structure. And believe that's appropriate and shouldn't impact the application. So unless there's any further comments from council, there's nothing further to add to my report.
Thank you, Adam. That will change the overall severed portion, correct, from what was established or what was asked for?
Yes, so what the land division committee will need to do if they go with my recommendation, they will require that lot line to be adjusted just a little bit further south. And if that's done, when the reference plan is established, that will, set in place that lot line. The lot line isn't there right now; it's proposed to be established.
Okay.
And I'm simply recommending that it be adjusted further south.
Fair enough. Any questions for Adam on the severance? Mover and seconder, report number DS 2113 entitled Severance Application be received. This report before the Land Division Committee for review and consideration.
I'll move it.
Here, I'll move.
Lewis and Jager, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes,
carried.
thank you. And in regard to the same application, that Malahide Township Council has no objection to the land severance number E1121 in the name of Alger Farms Limited, relating to property located at lot 23, concession 2, geographic township of Malahide, subject to the following conditions, and there's 7 conditions. Mover and seconder for that one, please.
I'll move it.
Lewis and
I'll second it.
Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes,
carried.
thank you. Michelle, are you doing the next one on, or no, Arun, you're doing the next one.
Yes, Your Worship. Good evening, members of council. I have an annual report for presentation to council tonight. It's a legislative requirement to make it public to the taxpayers of the remuneration that is received by members of council for their municipal work. And the statement is attached as is required. The information is noted accordingly. There was a slight change to the remuneration that council received in 2020 as a result of the independent committee that sat and went through the process of determining the appropriate remuneration. But there was no separate impact on the budget in 2020 because during 2020 budget deliberations, a potential impact had been already included in the budget. So it was well within the budget. And so the remuneration is as noted and the attendance of meetings is as noted in the attached statement. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Aaron. Any questions for Arun? Seeing none. Mover and seconder, report number FIN 2105 entitled 2020 Council Remuneration Expenses be received.
Move it.
Moved by Moore, seconder
I'll second it.
Widner, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jager,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes,
carried.
thank you. Michelle, are you doing the next one on pay equity and compensation?
Yes, Your Worship, through you. I have 3 reports for consideration this evening. The first is a follow-up from a report that was submitted to council at the last meeting. So as council's aware, there was a request for proposal that was issued by township staff for pay equity and compensation review. At the last council meeting, council decided not to proceed to award the contract because of some concerns about the overall cost of the project. And council also later in the meeting at the last one, council directed staff to contact the bidders and to determine whether or not there was an opportunity for revisions to the proposals in order to reduce the overall costs and make it more economical for the township going forward. So the RFP did outline a number of deliverables, and they were included in the report. I won't go through all of those. But in addition to all of those deliverables, the RFP also indicated that the successful consultant would be responsible for the entire pay equity and compensation review process with only very limited involvement by township staff. So that was one of the reasons why the costs came in at the amounts they did previously. And as was reported at the last meeting, we did receive a total of 9 submissions in response to that original call. Staff did, after the last meeting, contact all of those bidders to determine whether or not they were able to revise the proposal in a manner that would reduce the overall cost, but not compromise any of the quality of the project. While we were seeking those revised proposals, there was some concern expressed from some of the consultants that the initial submissions had now been made public through the RFP evaluation process and the subsequent council report. And we're concerned that those having that information in the public may color some of the revised proposals by some of the terminology was insider information, and they were questioned whether or not that would be contrary to a fair evaluation process. So staff followed up, and because indeed this process of asking consultants to go back and revise their proposal was not something that was a standard practice. And so we did consult with other procurement specialists, and it was recommended that if the township was indeed going to seek revised proposals, that all of the bidders should be given an opportunity in order to maintain that fair process. So we did go ahead and ask all of the 9 bidders to submit revised proposals if they wish to. We did receive 8 in response. 1 previous bidder chose not to submit a revised proposal. And then the same evaluation committee that reviewed the original proposals went ahead and completed a further review of the revised proposals that were submitted using the same method and the same scoring matrix as the original proposals. And then based on the results of that review, the evaluation committee is recommending to council that you proceed to award the project to, as it turns out, the original preferred bidder, ML Consulting, in a revised proposal amount of $24,200, noting that the revised fee is $4,400 less than the original $28,600 that was proposed. This is due to a reduced scope of work. The consultant has indicated that the revisions that they proposed will reduce the overall cost, but will not compromise the quality of the project, and is premised on the basis that the township staff will complete certain aspects of the project in-house, such as updating the job descriptions and reviewing some policy documents, rather than having the consultant being responsible for the entire review process, which was how the original proposal was laid out. The consultant again has confirmed that it will be the same staff that will conduct the review, and that the completion date will be able to remain the same of May 31st. I think, Your Worship, that's a summary of the information that has been presented. So.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. I mean, certainly from my point of view, that over the last 11 years, things have changed, not only in heads of departments and the responsibilities, and I think our staff deserve this. And we have to be cognizant of what our neighbors are paying in a competitive nature. So certainly I'm in favor of going ahead with this. But I will open it up for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may.
Yep. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with you 100%. Things have changed and our staff to me, is very deserving of everything they should get. But I just wonder, can we not do this in-house? Like I've worked different places before, and we didn't need to hire a professional consultant to come in to tell you what your job was. When I was the assistant manager for Tilsonburg at the auction exchange, nobody knew my job better than me. And to hire a consultant to come in and oversee stuff like this for that kind of money, I don't think we can afford that. I think we can do it in-house. And you mentioned seeing what our neighbors are paying. All it takes is a phone call. That's my
Michelle, do you
comment.
want to respond to that?
Your worship, through you, there are elements of the review that staff can do in-house, and the consultant has proposed some of those aspects, such as updating the job descriptions in order to reduce the cost. But there are a number of aspects that the staff do not have the capability to be able to do in-house. And as a result, require a third party to be able to follow up. So I don't disagree with you. Staff know very well what their jobs are and will be providing that input in the development of the job descriptions in-house. That information will feed to the consultant for them to be able to review that information and be able to make determinations on an appropriate compensation strategy.
Thanks, Michelle. Chester, you had a question?
Yes, Manel, it's a point of order, actually. We have a procedure bylaw. To bring back a bylaw, you need a 2/3 vote of council, and I don't think we ever did anything like that. And we also have a confirmatory bylaw at the end of our agenda every meeting, and therefore it's a bylaw, even if some people think it might not be. I think that we are out of order by proceeding with this. We either follow our procedure bylaws or we scrap them, and we seem to be throwing them out the window as fast as we can look at them. So I would like to know whether we're going to follow the bylaws, and if we are, then we should follow it. Then this is all irrelevant that we just heard now. I tried to get comments earlier, but I wasn't able to.
Want to respond to that, Michelle, please?
Your worship, in terms of whether this particular issue needs a 2/3 vote or not, if the council was going to look at proceeding to approve the original proposal in the format that it was, then I would agree with Councillor Glinsky that you would need to have reconsideration of the previous decision. In this particular instance, staff were asked to go back and ask the proposal to be rescoped, which we have done, and to seek new proposals from the consultants. So this process would be, in my opinion, a new item. While it is the same topic as before, it isn't the same proposals, in which case then I believe that council has the ability to be able to move forward with this particular item.
Thanks, Michelle. Any other questions for Michelle?
Yeah, I have one.
Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I'm a little confused here. I know when council was discussing the 1/3 tax exemption, we were given some information and we voted on it, whether we should have or not. That's irrelevant now, but we tried to bring it back and we were told we could not bring it back because it had passed, it is done, and the confirmatory bylaw made it official. So I don't know why this would be any different, and if it's not, maybe we can bring the other thing back. I'd also like to know, like, okay, let's just say we go through this process. Let's just say for a conservative number, the wages will go up $60,000. We're already at $170,000 for next year with the garbage and with gravel and with other things like that and insurance. How are we going to pay for all this stuff? Because it's going to be an awful mess. We can't use our reserves. I mean, we can, but that's just a terrible way to manage a budget. And typically we treated tenders very respectfully. And this time I don't think we are. And we've already had some pushback from some of the people. It sounds like that we're handling the tenders. I just don't think this is ethical and we shouldn't be doing this stuff. It's my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Any other questions for Michelle? Seeing none, there is a recommendation from staff.
Dominique's got one.
Pardon me?
Mr.
Dominique had a question.
Oh, go ahead, Dominique.
Yes, I think everybody knows I'm usually a stickler for procedures, and I do believe that in this case, we are following proper procedure. This is a revised scope, so essentially it's a new RFP and a new staff report with different numbers and different tasks being assigned to the consultant. So I think on that, certainly I would like to proceed with considering this, what is being presented this evening. I do want to take a few moments because there are a lot of conversation in the community about this. I think there's a lot of fear that this is going to turn into, as I think Councillor Widner alluded to, like this big, I don't know, runaway gravy train and payroll cost out of control. But at this point, in my opinion, that's complete speculation and fear based on speculation. We are in the dark. And in my opinion, the pay equity component, first off, is a legislated component, and we have a duty to update it. And now it is out of date. 11 years, we can't claim that we know for sure that we have internal pay equity. And on the compensation review program, we don't actually know. So we are making a decision. So in other words, by not doing the study, we're making a decision, but we're making a decision without data. I think I've been elected to make decisions with informed data, and that's what we would be buying. We're buying data. In other words, we're buying a tool. I can understand and I totally appreciate the fear, because like any tool, a tool can be misused, and perhaps some have had negative experiences of a tool. But at the end of the day, you can build a house with a hammer, you can break a window with a hammer. If you break a window, that's not the fault of the hammer. So we need to go ahead, get the data, and I think our ratepayers need to trust council that we will use the data wisely. We need to trust staff that they're not going to make unreasonable demands. We know these are tough times, but we need to assess what the risk is. So I'd like to do that with eyes wide open. And I also want to point out that we're looking at total compensation here. And the salary data we're going to get is only one part of the compensation. And if we find that our salaries are not at total parity, let's say to our neighbors, that doesn't mean that we have to jump. It means that we have to look at our total package. Council will recall that we approved a few weeks ago a flex hour, I can't remember the actual name, but flex hours, allowing staff to take Fridays off. That's part of a total compensation package that is worth a lot for some people, and maybe other municipalities don't offer, so maybe we pay a little less. But so the point is that the goal here is not salary parity. So to jump to conclusion to say that this is going to automatically lead, we shouldn't do this because we can't afford it. I think we can't afford to be blindfolded and taking risks without knowing. I think our most valuable asset is our people. I look at how much we spent on an asset management plan to assess, the value of our infrastructure and how much we should invest in our bridges and roads and culverts. And really, in reality, there is no good roads or good bridges without our people. So maybe it's just the title of this study. We should just rename it, I don't know, the most valuable asset management plan, and get the same data and pay the same amount of money that we do for our bridges and culverts. So, and I think, by the way, the other way we can also show that we value staff is to not come back on decisions. In my opinion, this was debated, this was controversial. We didn't have consensus back in December when we debated this during the budget deliberation. But at the end of the day, council took a vote, and we gave very clear direction to staff to go ahead with this study. So I think, we owe it to our staff for ourselves to be as professional and and respectful and not flip-flop on decisions. So I appreciate that we took the time to review scope and cost, and I'm always game to talk about value for money, but not to review, come back on the decision and the direction we gave to staff last December. So I would like to move for this study to proceed.
Okay, thank you, Dominique.
Mayor,
Yes, Chester.
comment. I agree with 90% of what Dominique has said. And I do value our staff a lot. It's without them, we would not be what we are. However, at the last meeting, this was defeated. And therefore, why are we not following that decision of council, but we're coming back and reopening it? If we want to look at whether it's going to be an increase in cost, I think we all know that it is, regardless of what you just heard. Performance Concept Consulting, they shuffled the deck, but basically we have the same staff, so therefore the same salaries, so there wasn't any saving. And also Performance Concept Consulting, they're suggesting that we add a position, maybe two. And there's no way is that going to cut costs, but that's going to increase. And that's not confidential information, since Performance Concepts report was made public several meetings ago. So I don't think we should be going ahead with this, and no disrespect to the staff, but council made a decision, and I think we should stick by it. Thank you.
Well, Chester, I'm gonna have to make a decision whether this is the same motion that was put 2 weeks ago, or this is a new one. And the way I read this, as Michelle had stated, this is a new motion. So I'm going to rule that this is acceptable. Any other questions for Michelle on this one?
Well, not for Michelle, just
Mark?
have a couple of history lessons. I've been through a couple of these, at least one I remember, and I think Chester will back me up. We did end up hiring 2 more people, and the wages increased substantially. So we were probably at a $250,000 increase. And this isn't about staff. This is about the ratepayers. And like one fellow said today, I'm a farmer. I don't have a money printing machine, and it's got to stop somewhere. I just can't afford it. The taxes are going up and up and up. And sure, the crop prices are up, but we're not making any more money. So that's a myth. So, but the ratepayers, I've got a lot of calls on this, and we just, enough is enough. We've got to stop this. And I know it's going to go up. I've been there, it's history. So if you don't think it's going to go up, well, then I'll reserve the right to say I told you so, but I'm sure it's going to. Well, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we have to be careful that the point is that we need to make informed decisions. And no, I'm not interested in any I told you so. What I'm saying is that it may go up, it may not. We can't not conduct the study just because we think it's going to go up. We need to conduct the study so we can make intelligent, informed decisions if we need to cut somewhere else in order to keep our people. I mean, you are aware that I have pointed out other places we could cut. So I think it's going down a rabbit hole to just say, we can't do this because we can't afford a higher payroll. So first off, it prejudices the results. And secondly, if we decide to not increase pay, I want to do that in an informed way. Right now, we would be making that decision, but without actually being based on data. I have the same concern. I've heard all the same conversations. I hear the reality. We are in tough times. So this is not about, again, like a runaway cost. We will strategize. We will be smart. We will find other ways. And like I said, there are other ways to improve the total compensation in ways that don't cost anything. The flex hour policy is a perfect example of that. We can offer other things. So we have to be creative. But I want to say, like, it's not about I told you so. It's about respecting the ratepayers and our staff and finding a wise decision in the middle.
Okay, one more question, Chester.
Well, just to back up what Councillor Widner was saying, when we had the consultant do this review 10 years ago or whatever it was, we were in the neighborhood of between 190 and 200,000 additional cost and a couple of employees. We're already looking at, because of these changes, as possibly one more and maybe even more than one employee coming on. So here we go again, the same story. I appreciate everything that Deputy Mayor has said. However, I do have a memory from before, and it just went south. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to call the question because we've had an adequate conversation. So mover, I've already got a mover that the report number CAO 2103 entitled Pay Equity and Compensation Review RFP update be received, and the contract to conduct a pay equity and compensation review be awarded to ML Consulting in the amount of $24,200, excluding HST. It being pointed out that the revised costing is premised on the township staff completing some aspects of the work in-house. So moved by Jagger, seconder.
I'll second it.
Lewis, all in favor?
Councillor Widner,
No.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Councillor Cerna,
No,
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky,
No,
Deputy Mayor Jagger,
Yes.
Mayor Manel.
Yes.
Can I have a recorded vote, Dave?
We should have asked for that before. What's your ruling on that, Diana?
We can record that into the minutes.
Okay, it'll be recorded, Scott.
Thank you.
Your worship, through you, the second report I have for council's consideration this evening is with respect to the Ontario Police College pumping station and the transfer of ownership of that pumping station from the province to the township. As council is aware, the Springfield sewage system outlets to the Ontario Police College pumping station, and this is permitted through a legal agreement between the province and the township. Recently, the Ontario pumping station reached the end of its useful life and was needed to be rebuilt. In conjunction with the province, the township has participated in overseeing that rebuild in order to be able to bring the asset back up to current standards. One of the things that we did in order to assist the users of that system in funding it was we applied back in 2017 for an OSIF grant, and we're awarded that grant in the amount of $618,614, subject to a number of different conditions. One of those being that because the township was not the current owner of that pumping station, it was necessary in order for us to receive the funding to be able to have that asset transferred ownership to the township. And that requirement is that before any funds flow from the province, any grant funding flows, that ownership documentation needs to be provided. So we have reported to council previously on this particular item, and we have been working for the last many months with the province in order to prepare the necessary legal documents that would formally make the ownership transfer take place. It has been a very long and somewhat complicated process in dealing with some of these matters with the provincial organization, but I'm very pleased to say that following those lengthy deliberations, we are at a point where we are able to first execute a lease agreement with the province for the land that the actual pump station building sits on. It's a 21-year lease agreement, and that then along with that, then the actual asset, the pump station building and all the appurtenances will be transferred to the township. So we're only able to lease the land at this point in time because of a number of legal complications that are currently in place. But we have been assured that there will be an opportunity to be able to seek a severance, essentially, and ownership of that parcel. It's just going to take longer than was going to be able to be undertaken within the time frame to have the grant approval done. So this is a step, the preliminary step to allow us to get transfer of the asset and receive that $618,000 from the province. And then staff will continue to work with the province for the ultimate sale of the piece of land that it sits on. But this will meet all of the conditions of the grant and will allow us to be able to have those monies begin to flow. Included in the report is a summary of some of the financial implications for this particular project. Even though the project is completed and the new pumping station is operational, we don't yet have all of the final costings from the province for this particular project, and staff will be reporting back to council at a future meeting detailing the final costing of it once we have that information. So this is step one, and just a reminder to council is that we have until the end of this month on March 31st in order to be able to have the lease agreement and the transfer document executed by both the township and the province in order to have the grant monies flow. So we are in a bit of a time crunch, and I apologize to council for bringing this in at the last minute, although I can assure you that it has not been because either side of the parties of negotiating in terms of the township staff and the province, it's not because we haven't been working towards this, but it is what I've come to realize, a very complicated endeavor in dealing with multiple provincial bodies to get these things completed. But I think we're at a point now where this has been reviewed by our municipal solicitor and several of the provincial solicitors as well, and will meet the requirements to allow us to get the grant funding.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Questions through Michelle on the pumping station? Seeing none, mover and seconder, report number CAO 2106 entitled OPC Pumping Station Transfer to Township be received, and the draft OPC Pumping Station Lease Agreement with Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario as represented by the Ministry of Government Consumer Services be approved. Mayor and clerk be authorized and directed to execute the lease agreement on behalf of the township.
Move it.
Moved by Moore, seconder Glinski, all in favor?
Councillor Widner,
Yes.
Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Councillor Cerna,
Yes.
Councillor Lewis,
Yes.
Councillor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes,
carried.
thank you. Next one, Michelle.
Yes, the last report I have is listed under my section this evening, but is actually a report that was put together by all of the senior staff. So all of the other directors were involved in preparing, and I have the task of being able to present it to council. So it is with respect to the second intake of the Municipal Modernization Program funding. And the council was recently advised that the province announced a second launch of that grant funding opportunity. So this is specifically to help small and rural municipalities modernize service delivery and identify new ways to be more efficient and effective. It specifically is going to allow provincial funding to conduct third-party reviews as well as implement projects to increase that efficiency and effectiveness and lower costs in the long term. So included in the report, there was a breakdown of some of the program guidelines and eligibility criteria. I won't go through all of those, but I do want to point out to council that there were two funding streams, and there are recommendations this evening that applications be submitted for both funding streams. The first one is the review stream, which will provide 100% funding to undertake additional reviews with the goal of finding efficiencies and lowering costs in the long term. These reviews must be undertaken by an independent third-party reviewer or consultant and be completed by no later than November 30th of this year. The second stream is the implementation stream, which provides 75% funding for municipalities that are under 5,000 households, which Malahide is, and to actually implement a project as a result of a previous review, such as a service delivery review or some other evidence-based report. And that project, all of these projects must be completed by September 30th of next year. So to be eligible for funding, there was another proviso that the municipality must confirm that it is either fully spent or at least allocated the unconditional modernization funding grant that was provided by the province in 2019. As council is aware, we haven't spent all of that money as of yet, but we have it earmarked in the 2021 capital budget for the broadband tower project. So as such, it's the staff's opinion that the township does meet that particular eligibility criteria. So based on a review of the other program guidelines and criteria, staff are recommending we submit applications for 2 specific projects. One, as I said, was for the review stream, and that would be a facilities consolidation or relocation business plan. That would be for all municipal facilities with a specific focus on the public works facilities, as was recommended in the phase 1 service delivery review study that was completed last year. The service delivery review, as council's aware, noted that the as is public works facility model is not optimal in moving forward. And they recommended that a detailed business plan be prepared, which would include a complete functional design analysis and a financing and costing detail for the consolidation of the public works yards. While the service delivery review didn't specifically identify, it did specifically identify a review of the public works facilities as a do now project. And staff are suggesting that we take advantage of the available 100% provincial funding to conduct that study and that review, and also for the remainder of the municipal facilities in order to identify any other opportunities or find efficiencies and address the long-term needs of the township. The second project would be the implementation stream, and that would be for the development approvals, service business model, and electronic processing. So that would be the preparation of a business plan or a shared development approvals process model, which would incorporate planning, building, and bylaw enforcement services and the staff and contractors. As well, it would also recommend the implementation of appropriate software to enable online applications and electronic business processes. So this project would meet the goal of increased municipal efficiency and effectiveness, and also would implement the recommendation from the phase 1 service delivery review, which was identified as a now need. Third-party review would provide council and staff with the most appropriate strategies that possible for moving forward with a shared service arrangement with one or more of our neighboring municipalities. Both of those projects do meet the intake requirements, the eligibility criteria, and completion of these projects will result in increased efficiency, future cost savings, and enhanced customer service. The cost of the 2 projects is estimated for the facility consolidation relocation business plan. $30,000 to $50,000 is what the estimate is based on some previous plans. The province would cover 100% of those project costs, so there'd be no impact to the budget that was previously adopted by council. And the development approvals business plan, that is estimated to be approximately $30,000, and there would be 75% funding available in the amount of $22,500. The township share would be about $7,500. And it would be proposed that that would be funded from the Planning and Development Reserve, and there is sufficient funding in that reserve to do that. And with that, Your Worship, I'd be pleased to answer any questions, or those that I can't answer, the rest of your senior staff are available.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Questions for Michelle on these grant applications? Hopefully we're successful. No questions?
Mayor Manel, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Jess.
I guess it's to Michelle. You mentioned cooperation with neighboring municipalities in this. Have they already been approached? Or is this just something in the just looking at it and planning ahead?
Your Worship, through you, in answer to Councillor Glancy's comment, they have been approached from a staffing perspective. We have had some preliminary discussions with BAM. As council will recall, that was one of the recommendations of the consultants for the service delivery review. It has not yet been presented to BAM council because we have not developed that business plan. That is the next step in the process. So having this particular consultant assist us with the development of that business plan would allow us then to be able to go forward and present formally a full fleshed out concept to BAM and potentially to some other of our neighbors as well in the future.
Okay, Jess? Any other questions, comments? Seeing none. Mover and seconder, CAO number 2105 entitled Municipal Modernization Program, intake number 2 be received. And municipal staff be directed to submit an application under the review stream of the Municipal Modernization Program intake 2 for the facilities consolidation relocation business plan project. It being noted out that the review stream provides 100% funding to successful projects. That municipal staff directors submit an application under the implementation stream of the Municipal Modernization Program intake 2 for the development approval, service business plan, electronic processing project. It being noted out the implementation stream provides 75% funding to successful projects. Mover and seconder, please.
Move it.
Don't be shy.
I'll second it.
Moved by Lewis, seconder.
I said I'll second
Turner,
it.
all in favor. I got you, I think, didn't I?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. Next, we have reports of committees and outside boards, none, and we have correspondence. We have 13 items on correspondence. Anyone wish to make comment? We've endorsed some of these in the past, but there is 13. Anyone wish to make comments or on any of these? No burning issues. Motion to receive and file the following correspondence 1 through 13.
I'll move it.
Cerna, seconder.
Jaguar.
Jaguar, all in favor.
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. Next, we have a request for funding. Michelle, are you going to deal with that one?
Your worship, this particular request came in from the Almer and Area Chamber of Commerce and the Almer BIA. As council is aware, there has been some negativity in the community and portrayed on media in recent months. And we're hoping to be able to bring a positive spin and get some positive media coverage to our area. They have the town of Almer, as well as a number of the local businesses, have been requested to assist in financing a television advertising campaign on CTV, and they're asking Malahide Council if they would be willing to assist with some financial funding as well.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. And certainly you're right. Our businesses have been affected lately by COVID, and this is coming from the Aylmer area, which is not only just Aylmer, but it's also businesses in Malahide and Springfield. So any questions or comment, I would certainly be, they're asking for 1,100, is it?
Yes, your worship, and I can confirm that there is sufficient funding in our economic development budget for something along this lines if council was interested in participating.
Well, certainly I'd be in favor of it, but we'll open this up to council for their questions or comments. Any questions or comments on this one? Or Mark?
Yeah. Yes, I'm just wondering if we're gonna be, will Malahide be highlighted in some of these ads, or it doesn't say that in here, but.
Your worship, through you, we haven't been given a lot of specifics. I think they're trying to determine what level of interest there is, and then they're going to be putting together a more detailed campaign. My expectation is that if Malahide participates, then there would be recognition provided to Malahide as well. There is some additional correspondence in addition to the original email that outlines information that was sent to local businesses and was indicating there was an opportunity to showcase local businesses. So whether or not there's an acknowledgement that funding was contributed by Malahide to assist in this particular campaign, or whether we have our own spot that ends up providing some recognition to the Township Direct. That hasn't been made clear just yet, but certainly it would be my expectation that there would be acknowledgement from acknowledgement of the township's contribution if we were to go ahead and contribute.
Yeah, certainly. I think that'd be a good idea. Thank you.
Any other questions for Michelle? Seeing none. Mover and seconder, the funding request received from the Elmer and Area Chamber of Commerce and the Elmer BIA to participate in a joint television advertising campaign on CTV in support of local businesses be approved in the amount of $1,100.
Jaguar,
Second.
By Jaguar, seconder by Lewis.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. Move on to bylaws. And this is in regard to all kinds of various parcels and putting into the road system. Mover and seconder bylaw number 21-16, moving a bylaw to incorporate various parcels into the road system, be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed.
I'll move it.
Moved by Cerna, seconder
Second.
Widner, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. And this is regard to the pumping station. So a mover and seconder bylaw number 2120, being a bylaw to execute a lease agreement with Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario as represented by her Ministry of Government and Consumer Services relating to the pumping station at the Police College, be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed.
Move it.
Moved by Moore, seconder
Second that.
Galinsky, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. And now we need a mover and seconder, council, and move into closed session at 8:35. Pursuant to section 239-2 of the Municipal Act 2001 is amended to discuss one of the following. Personnel matter about identifiable individual relating to Malahide Fire Services, personnel policies. 2, a personal matter about an identified individual relating to recruitment of municipal staff. And 3, personnel matter about an identified individual relating to the recruitment of municipal staff. Mover and seconder for close, please.
Move
I'll
it.
move it.
Widner and Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes.
carried.
Okay, now we're in open session. So in regard to the close, there's just staff direction, and Councilor Jaguar is going to come back with a report from her part. So I need a mover and seconder. The bylaw number 21-17, being a confirmatory bylaw, be given a first, second, third reading, properly signed and sealed.
Move it.
Moore,
Second it.
Cerna, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky,
Oh,
Deputy Mayor Jaguar,
Yes.
Mayor Manel,
Yes.
that's carried.
Thank you. And finally, the mover and seconder of the council adjourned its meeting at 9:27 to meet again on March 18th, 2020 at 7:30. Galinsky, Widner, all in favor?
Counselor Widner,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes.
Counselor Cerna,
Yes.
Counselor Lewis,
Yes.
Counselor Galinsky, Deputy Mayor Jiguer,
Yes.
Mayor Mennel.
Yes.
That's carried, your worship.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Stay safe.
Yep.
Good
Good night.
night.